Hey, 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 it's Dr. Day coming on today with another message. My title, if you look at my title is 70 is no excuse to stop living. And I just been on this quest the last couple of days thinking about because I do see it going on that ladies that have reached the quote unquote pinnacle of their age, rather elderly. People want to give us this title of being elderly. Okay, and so what is elderly? Excuse me, being rather old, middle age. Well, that still doesn't say who we are. That's just a title that people put on us, a label that they say that you're elderly, but that's not who you are. You have more attributes, you have more qualities and stuff than to take a title, have it put on you, and then put yourself in the box and stay there. I think about many ministries that has they might call them senior ministry, and there are varied titles and name. I know at my church they call the quote unquote the seniors. They didn't want to say seniors, but they say wisdom warriors. Okay, so that kind of like takes the title and gives it a little there, wisdom warrior. Okay, so wisdom is the quality. Wisdom is when someone has the quality and the experience and knowledge of life. And a warrior is someone who's an experienced fighter. Okay, so now you have these two words that you group together, and this is who we say they are. But then what I do notice that even though they have the title as wisdom warrior, people tend to stay within that little clique group because now they have become a part of, like I said, who people identify them at. And so they stay there and they join the group and they go on various trips, and they do all the things to make them feel welcome, to make them feel valued. Because of course, sometimes people say, and I'm not saying my church, but I have been other places, and they say, well, we honor them. Once a year you honor them for various things, Mother's Day and different things like that. And you say that you have did your work. Okay, now it's for you to sit back and enjoy your labor. I don't believe that. Okay, because when you sit back and now that you quote unquote enjoying your labor, you become complacent, you become comfortable, and then in your mind you think that you don't have anything to give, you have no value. But yet, if you take the sea line moment and go over and look at your life, there are so many things that could be beneficial to the ministry. But because the ministry, most time ministries are focused on the age group of the people that are quote unquote who they say might be doing all the work. Okay, not realizing that you still have the capacity to do work, you still have the mentality to think, you still have your hands that are functional, and you can do all these things. But they want you to stay there, and they want to award you once a year of your good deeds that you have been working and fighting on this journey, the Christian journey, when you could be used otherwise. What people our age, I'm saying our age because I am 71, I am over 70. You give ideas, you give suggestions, but it's like and I'm not saying this is where I worship, this is not going on, but I have been someplace else, and you give ideas and you give suggestions, but it's like, no, that don't fit our criteria right now. They don't might not say that in so many words, but exactly that's what they're saying, especially when they don't take what you say and don't even think that this could be value to these young girls. Okay, you have these young girl ministries and you have the single ministries. You have the women's ministry, like you group them all in one thing when it shouldn't be that way, because each one of them is individual uh, criteria, individual, I don't know what word I want to use, for that group. Each one has its own things that it needs, within that group. Say if you fall in the young lady age, this is what you need. If you fall in the singles category, this is what you need. And as an older woman, your things that you have went through your life as being a single, whether you've been single all your life, and whether you were married and because of divorce, or because of the passing of your loved one, you are now single. But everything that you have gone through, you can be of value and an asset. Like the young ladies, okay, when I was in school, we had home economics, and we had sewing, and we had cooking. It just amazes me how so many young ladies, and I'm not talking about maybe 12, you talking about some ladies maybe in their 40s, and it could be some ladies in their 50s. They're so used to opening a box of macaroni, put the macaroni on the stove, boil the water, take the little powder, and stir it up, put a little milk, and that's their macaroni and cheese. There's quite a few people I know and have talked to personally that don't know how to make macaroni and cheese from scratch. Now, I think that is downright shameful. And especially, macaroni and cheese is one of the things that's always been on our dish, as growing up in the household. Your great big mama and your mama always made some macaroni and cheese, and they did not settle for Kraft out the box. I mean, they used the macaroni, but then there was other things that they used to make it an enjoyable dish with, all the cheeses and all the stuff that you would just run when, Big Mama said, I made macaroni and cheese, and you're ready to go to Big Mama's house because you're ready for her famous macaroni and cheese. But it's unfortunately these young ladies don't know how to do that. So take us as the senior people, have a ministry, let it be a ministry where you teach the young ladies how to make macaroni and cheese. Another food is dressing. A lot of people don't know how to make dressing from scratch. And I'm not talking about going in there and buying stove top and putting it in a, little casserole dish and get you a jar of gravy, and that's your stuff. That's your dressing. No, I'm talking about making dressing from cornbread scratch, the whole 9 yards. The chicken ball, get the broth from the chicken, cut it, because I like chicken. I take chicken and I cut it up and I put it in my dressing. So these are little things that could be so very well incorporated into ministries. But because life has taken us on a total different journey and a whole different way, people are not utilizing their quote unquote elders that's sitting up there, that wants to do things, want to be of value, want to participate, but when you don't ask, or you just assume that they okay and they comfortable, then nothing gets done. And so you sit there week after week and you look at all the other things that possibility the ministry is doing. But like I said, once a year you get your accolades and you get your Kool-Aids and your little blowhorn. This is, we're honoring you this year, once a year, because this is your day, when other 364 days of the year, that it could have been something, significant that you could have been given to the body of Christ. And so when I think about elderly and people, when you get 65, you're headed for Social Security and all that stuff. So some ladies, they sit and they wait, okay, I'm going to retire and I'm going to get my Social Security check, and this is all I'm going to do. Well, do you ever wonder why you're miserable? Why you have no peace, why you have no joy? Because you have done all the things that you attribute to your life. You raise your kids, excuse me, maybe you retired, but you don't feel like you have any value or any worth. So you just sit day after day week after week. You go to church, you listen to the words, you go home. You might go to Golden Corral, or you might go someplace with other ladies and fellowship. And then when it's over, you all depart and you go your separate ways. And that's your life. It's just a vicious routine cycle of finding, that you don't seem like you have any significant and value. Now, what about quilting? Okay, I remember, my grandmother taught me how to quilt. So many people, you have old clothes, old blankets, and different things that you cut up in different square sizes, and you don't have to be a rocket science to quilt. I used to take my old jeans and cut them up and use different patches and different shirts, flannel shirts, and just all kind of different things that you could take and sew together and have a quilting class and teach these young girls. Matter of fact, I have two quilts. One that my grandmother made me, and one that me and her made together. And those were the things back there that you look at Big Mama and all the ladies in the neighborhood. They would sit on the porch and they would have this big quilting loom, and everybody is putting their own little signature piece together. So those are some of the things that you could be doing. Well, what about going into the nursing home? And I've gone into the nursing home, and I've gone into the prison. A matter of fact, I was up under, a program for 10 years. And, when it was disbanded, and it's still Operation Prison Fellowship, I was a facilitator. I went in there and I looked at these young girls, and it was just mind boggling, and it was really hurtful how I seen the cycle of young girls coming in there for little things that they were doing that were really, if they would have used common sense, or if they would have had someone to guide and direct them, that they wouldn't have found themselves on that side of the fence. So there are things that you can do and stop, sitting around and making excuses that you can't do anything. Even you say, well, I'm not going in a nursing home. Some people, when you start thinking about nursing homes and assisted living, then you're saying, "No, I ain't going in there because, those for the old folks." Well, baby, you're hitting that age, okay? So some of those people, they don't have family members to come visit them. They're just sitting there, and you go in there and you minister to them. Some of them might not even comprehend what you're saying, but there's others that do. And I've always told the story. One time I went into the nursing home and I was ministering the word, and the lady willed her dad in there. And when her dad came in, he had his head, like down like that, and he was just sitting there. Well, I don't know what in the midst of what God gave me to say, but I know it hit something in his spirit, because before I knew it, he had jumped up out of the wheelchair. Now I'm talking about, he had literally jumped up out the wheelchair, and his daughter was sitting beside him, and it scared her so bad, and actually scared me, because I mean, I'm up on the platform, and it was like in the little auditorium part of the cafeteria in the nursing home, so it wasn't like a big podium, auditorium type situation. But I was close enough to react, because I all I could see was him falling, because I remember how he came in, and he, wasn't acting that way. He was acting totally different. And so when he jumped up, and his daughter, held him and everything, and I was like, "Is he okay?" And she's like, "I think so." So I commenced, she put him back down. "Dad, you need to sit down." And I commenced on going, giving the word. And when it was over, I went over there to talk to him, and I can't, it skips my memory right now what his name was. But to make a long story short, what I found out was this individual used to pastor a church. So even though, from our looking at him and from what society says, his spirit man was still alive, and whatever I said, it his spirit united with my spirit, and what the Spirit of the Lord was telling me to say, that it awoken something in him where he hadn't forgot that he served a true and a living God, and he was excited and he wanted to do his Holy Ghost shuffle one more time. So I say all that to say, don't think because you're 70 and you are not being used in, your church, or whatever ministry that you might be on. You think out of the box. Go to the people that's in charge. Give them suggestions, because if the truth be told, some of the people that's over these organizations, and some of the people, and the pastors, they don't have time to be thinking about things like that, because they have so many other things on their plate. Truly, the elders, because they're in, most of them are like 30, 40, so their mindset is like, you're in that category over there. You stay over there, and we'll be over here doing what we need to be doing for our age group, that age group right there, whether they want to think that's what they do, but that's what they do. They might, like every once in a while, just come and, hey, how you doing? And it just amazes me how people talk to people. It's like, hey, how you doing? It's like sad, and you okay? You need anything? Boom, perk up. I still got breath in me. I'm still alive. I still have emotions. Still have feelings. I still want to feel like I have some value in my worth. Don't make me, feel like I'm being a burden that you have to say something to me. And so as I was thinking about that, I went to the book of Luke in the second chapter, here where we're talking about Anna, and she was a prophetess, okay? And I want to read that, and it's Luke, the second chapter, and verses 36 through 37. And the word of the Lord says, and there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. And Asher was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And um, she was of great age, okay? Um, and Asher, like I said, was one of the sons, Jacob's sons of the tribe of Israel, and his mother was Zipporah, who was a manservant of Leah, Jacob's wife. Okay, so that is the history, and so she came from that tribe, and that tribe means happy, or be happy or blessed. Okay, so she was of great age and had lived with the husband 7 years from her virginity. Now it says she lived with her husband 7 years from her virginity. The Bible doesn't tell what happened to her husband. Maybe he went on to be with the Lord, but it said she lived with 7 years. Okay. And she was a widow of about 84 years. Okay. So what do that mean? Okay. This is what, the four scores uh, means 80 years, and it's 4 years, 20 times four. So 80 years of her life, she was a widow. And in the 80 years of her life, she did not depart from the temple, but served God with fasting and prayers day and night, because she was waiting to see, Jesus. And when Simeon held Jesus up, if you can read on, then she was ready to go home to glory. She has seen, all that she needed to see. She was waiting for, this sign. But I say all of that, in her younger years, she did things, and uh, life dealt her a hand that maybe, some of us have been dealt a hand that we have not gotten over. And some people, unfortunately, they get stuck right there when things happen. But it says she didn't get stuck. She didn't stay there. She was in the temple. She was doing something. She was serving God, even in her old, probably she couldn't move as she could long before. Like most of us, we can't move and we can't run and do the things that we do, but she still had breath in her body. So she was in the temple and she was serving in the temple by praying and fasting. She was doing something constructive. She was just not being idle. She wasn't in her woe pity party about I'm old and I can't do this now and people not going to listen to me. No. Have you ever tried to do anything? Have you ever tried to tell people? Because if the truth to be told, people are interested in stories. People are interested in, especially if ladies, if you know a young lady or somebody that might be going through something, a single mother and trying to raise her child, and she has no significant other, and maybe unfortunately we see this, we see so many young ladies that 3 and 4 kids, because nobody taught them anything. So they have 3 and 4 baby daddies. And so their self esteem has just been shot to the roof. And they just feel like they have no value. They feel like they have no worth. Well, maybe you in your youth, you were like that. So why not channel your wisdom in your elderly years, experience as a wisdom warrior? Channel that and minister to them and let them know it's okay, because you're not the first one that got in that situation and you're not going to be the last one. But I can tell you from the situation that you're in right now, let's move forward. Let's not get stuck that because you had your hopes on somebody and you idolized this person and you thought this person was the one and that didn't pan out. So then you find another person and you did the same thing. And then it became a vicious cycle with 2 more times that you did those things. You gave yourself unconditionally. You gave yourself, to somebody who didn't value your worth or value who you was. Minister to them, tell them that it's okay. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all make mistakes. But let me tell you my story. Let me tell you my story, because the word tell us we overcome by the word of our testimony. And some of us have some testimonies, and I know I have some testimonies that I can share that would like, huh? You, Dr. Day? Yeah, nobody is exempt. Everybody, everything that you go through in life is a testimony and it's supposed to be used. It was a learning experience. It was your training ground. You learn how to maneuver through things. You learn how to maneuver through life. So hopefully you don't fall into that same trap that maybe you felt before, and you know how to do things just a little bit different so that you don't keep doing the same thing. So minister to them, let them know. Then maybe you could say, well, maybe once a month you bring your kids over to my house, even if they are baby and bam bam kids and bad. But see, now you could be the one to give these kids some structure. Because I know some kids, and I ain't got to say nothing. All I got to do is, like my mama did, is look at them and, like, I might say one time, stop or don't do that, but I ain't gonna say it too many times. I'm gonna just call a spade, okay? And you take what I'm saying, okay? Call a spade. You're not gonna keep doing that, but give these young ladies something to look forward to. And like I said, if they don't know how to cook, show them how to cook. Take them in the kitchen. Like I make pound cakes from scratch. How many people can't even open a box of Duncan Hines cake mix and make a cake? Because they're so busy chasing things. Everything has become so accessible and so easy that you can run into Kroger's, you can run into Food Line, and you can run into these various institutions, grocery stores, and buy stuff already made, which have no taste. And, it's just everything is bland because it's just made in a production, and everything is just do, 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 and it comes out on the assembly line and packaged and in the stores and you buy it and you take it to a birthday party and you think that you have done something. No, learn how to make a pound cake, learn how to make a red velvet cake, a carrot cake. See, you as that 70-year-old person, you have those qualities in you. You know how to do it. You know what it needs to be done. Maybe once a month, just invite some young ladies over and say, I'm going to show you how to make this pound cake. And this time, you'll make one, and then the next time you'll make one. And it's not hard to teach people who are teachable. Yes, I understand that there's some young ladies and some people that don't want to be teach, that think they know everything, but don't focus on those. Let those be the ones, like, you pray for them, and eventually when they start seeing that the other ladies who maybe they all hung around in a social circle is doing something other than in the club, dropping it like it's hot and all that stuff, that they will say, "Oh, okay, I might take an interest in Miss Jones or Miss Day. She's once a month. She's giving the classes on how to cook pound cakes, and then the library have rooms that are usually free. Go in there, and whatever knowledge that you have that will enhance them and to teach them, do that. Whether it's financial literacy, whatever it is, how to write books, or whatever your niche is, whatever your ability is, whatever your passion, use it. See, Anna, she went, her passion was in that temple praying day and night. She was before the Lord. She was just praying and fasting on behalf of people, and waiting for when she see Jesus. She didn't, because she was elderly. She, that's her, the testimony of being an elderly woman. You're not just sitting around doing nothing. Okay, and I don't like the word elderly, because, like I said, it's talking about being, according to the definition, rather old. Okay, we don't need to be labeling people elderly and middle age and senior citizens and all these titles, because then we get all this stuff in our head, and we just take it and we put it on like a coat of armor, and we wear it, and then next thing we know, we internalize them within ourselves. This is what we are. I'm a rather middle age, I'm a senior citizen, I can't do nothing. No, as long as you have breath in your body, you are able and have the ability, the capacity to do anything you set your mind to. That's why I think, as we look at this world, we have gotten so far off, ladies. Men have their own thing that they need to minister to the young boys, but I'm talking about us as older ladies. We have an obligation for the next generation. We don't let two generations get by that they off the chain. So now you have your grandkids and you have your great grandkids. Why not go back to doing the things that your big mama and your grandmother did to instill on you, so that two generations that's in the middle, the parents of those the grandkids and the great grandkids, can see that, maybe I missed my mark there, but I still have an opportunity to let my kids learn something that I should have been learning, when instead of me being out there in the street and in the club. Yes, I was in the club. I was the first one on the dance floor and the last one to leave. That's the way it was. But, I can tell that story, so you can tell someone, as you minister to these young girls, what you was doing. Don't make them feel like your life has been always a bed of roses, that you always been perfect. No, the Bible tells us we all fall short of the glory of God. We all have sinned, and there's no big sin, there's no little sin. Sin is sin. But we want to be at this age and this juncture, as like I said, 70 is no excuse to stop living. Live your best life. You will get so much joy and so much satisfaction when you give to someone else and you help someone else and you see how they have come along and how they have matured and how they have reached, maybe their destiny or their purpose in life, and you had a hand, you contribute to it. So this is what the first thing you can do is like get some young ladies, mentor them. Ask your pastor, or if you're not a pastor, or if it's not, you're not in a church, or if you know somebody have an organization or stuff. Can you come in once a month and just teach someone how to cook or how to make a quilt? Number two, go into the nursing homes and the people that's sitting there. They're just sitting there now because their family just dumped them in there and left them. And you don't want to be like that. You don't want your, God forbid, your family take you someplace and dump you. So go in there and let those people, the one that, um, what is the one that, quote unquote, the elderly and the senior citizens like you are now, go in there, give them some encouragement, hug up on them, let them know that they still have some value and they have some worth. Go into the prisons, minister to the young ladies, and then let them know you don't have to be in this situation. You don't have to, you messed up, okay, say you do the time, you do the crime, you got to do the time. So when your time is over, come out with a different perspective, a different mindset, a different goal, a different agenda. There are so many things that you can do over the age of 70. And there's no excuse not to do them. There's no excuse to stop living. Just live, do things that will give you, peace and joy. You have obtained all your stuff. You got all these plaques, you got all this stuff on the wall, and it's not doing you no good. What did you get all that information for? To just for people to come in your house and look around and say that you have arrived? No, take your knowledge and do something with it, and you will be surprised. You'll be like Anna. She was so fulfilled. She was in her assignment. She didn't do nothing spectacular, maybe from our sight, but praying and fasting, that is some work. What it said for 80 years, that's all she did. She won't worry about no man. She won't worry about going no club. She was up in the house of the Lord praying, where some of us need to be up in the house of the Lord praying because of what's going on around us. So just think about it. You're at that age, and they want to lump you in the category of you being an elder now. Don't take that title, don't wear it. Okay, like somebody said, I wore that t-shirt. And no, don't wear that t-shirt, don't wear that hat, don't wear that title, don't wear that sign. No, live, do things that God will be pleased. He would say that, you still had breath in your body, and I was expecting you to do some great and spectacular things, because you could be the one that, with all the knowledge that you have, you might be the one that come have a cure for breast cancer. You might be the one that have the cure for AIDS. You just got to use your imagination, because God gave us that imagination. He gave us the brain, and he gave us the ability to take everything that we have gone through in life and everything that we have learned and internalize it and put it in a right perspective and do something with what we have. So I just popped on here to say, you're 70, so what? You're 70, don't stop living. You're 70, stop making excuses. You still have breath in your body. Channel what you learn. Teach someone how, like I said, to do things that come so natural and so easily for you. So y'all, on that note, Dr. Day just stopped in to say 70 is no excuse to stop living. So on that note, I'll see ya.